garbage, toxins. And they come back home and they're fine, but then they get sick years later. And we owe it to them to make sure that they're taken care of because of their exposures to toxins. And that's what we accomplished today. Decades long toxic exposures were solved by the passage of this bill. Now, Chairman Takano, Chairman of the House Veterans Affairs Committee, was on the floor, and I talked to him, and he feels very confident the House is going to be able to get this done, since there's a good vote coming out of the Senate very, very soon as next week. And then it gets to the President's desk, and then we've got to make sure this bill's implemented correctly. But there's a lot of people to thank. I've thanked Jerry Moran many times, and I've thanked our staff. But there's a guy standing right beside me right here. And I'm here to tell you we wouldn't be here today without Chuck Schumer, and that is a fact.
Right back at you, baby.
It's true. Chuck, thank you very much for everything you do. You've got the toughest job in the Senate, and you stepped up and you made this thing happen, and I just want to thank you for that. And then we'll hear from some more speakers. You're up first, Chuck.
Thank you, John. And really, the two people who made this happen more than anybody else as senators were John Tester, who there were so many bumps and twists and turns, and he persisted and persisted and persisted till we got it done. And the other is Jerry Moran, who I see down in the corner over there. Come on up, Jerry. It's all going to be good. And the two of them were a great team. Under my leadership, we try to do as many things as we can in a bipartisan way. And if we can't get something done in a bipartisan way to help our veterans, then, gee whiz, something's the matter in the country. But we did, because of Jerry and because of John. So thank you both very, very much for doing what you have done. You can come up here, Jerry. Yeah, I know he deserves it. And you too, John. These guys were the best. It used to just burn my rump that veterans in New York and elsewhere who were exposed to these toxic materials had to fight the VA to get help. Instead of the VA helping them and saying, you were injured in the course of war, we're going to help you, the VA threw all kinds of obstacles. You got to prove this, you got to do that, you got to go here, you got to go there. You even had to hire lawyers, and these guys couldn't afford lawyers. And now that's all going to change, not only for the burn pits, but for so many other toxicities, including Agent Orange and others, that our veterans have had to fight for the decades and generations. And the bottom line is very simple. When we send someone off to war, there are costs. Some of the costs are immediate, and some of the costs are down the road. But they're all the costs of war, and we should make sure that it is our government that has asked these veterans to risk their lives that pays those costs. And we are a giant step closer to that happening today in so many different areas than we were a few hours ago. I want to thank all the VSOs. They did an amazing job. They worked hard. We met many times to make sure every senator in each of the 50 states was talked to. We actually had the vote after Memorial Day weekend because we knew our veterans would go talk to the senators across the country, and you can see the result of their activities. I don't know what the vote is, but it's probably over 80 right now, and so it shows you the huge success we had. And I want to thank John Field, who's here, and John Stewart, who have been a conscience on this for a very, very long time to get this done. And we thank them for that. My colleague, Senator Gillibrand, who has been involved in this issue for such a long time, Sherrod Brown and Martin Heinrich, who were amazing voices throughout this long journey, deserve huge credit. You'd say this is a great day for America, but this is a day that should happen naturally. We shouldn't have to push and push and push. And maybe the great lesson of the PACT Act, in addition to all the help it's going to give our veterans, is that next time something like this occurs, the VA will understand that they should be helping our veterans, not standing in the way for years and even for decades. So with that, let me turn it back over to John. Jerry.
I think what we'll do is let Senator Gillibrand go, because it's always ladies first. Right?
Well, thank you. This is a day of our democracy actually working. The men and women who are sitting in the gallery right now watching this vote are service members who fought so bravely but came home with debilitating diseases. Several of them are on oxygen tanks, and they're watching this vote. They're watching the members of the Senate do their jobs and stand by the men and women who sacrificed so much for this country. These are benefits that these men and women earned. They earned it through their blood, sweat, and tears, through their extraordinary efforts for this country. And little did they know that the burn pits dug up around the bases where they served were emitting horrible toxins, which caused some of the worst cancers, from brain cancer to throat cancer to lung cancer to stomach cancer. And now they need our help. As Senator Schumer said, this is the cost of war. When we send our brave men and women all around the globe to protect our freedom, they deserve to be able to come back to the health care they need to survive, and their families deserve the benefits that they've earned when they pass. This is a day of justice, and I can't thank the people standing with me enough. For Senator Tester and Senator Moran to write this comprehensive bill, a bill that's been waiting decades, to right wrongs of the past and to make sure our service members are provided for, shows their leadership, shows their tenacity, shows their determination to not take no for an answer. For my colleagues in the Senate, Senator Heinrich and Senator Brown and Senator Rubio, who's not yet here, we've been working on this burn pits legislation for a long time. And then last but definitely not least, our advocates. For John Field, John Stewart, and every service member who has fought, and every family member of that service member. For me, it was Rosie and Leroy, Burn Pits 360. They asked for a meeting, they told me what was happening, and I got to work with everyone who's standing here with me. So I'm very grateful that they never gave up and they never gave in. Today is a day of justice, a day of reckoning, and Congress did what was right.
Thank you. Jerry Moran.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is a important day in which we demonstrate that the commitments that we make when our servicemen and women serve, while I have to add the word finally, we demonstrate that they are finally, those commitments are kept. And we'll work hard from this day forward to make certain that the Department of Veterans Affairs has the resources and the capabilities to meet the needs of those veterans now benefited by this legislation. I thank all my colleagues, Republicans and Democrats, for the efforts that went to get this legislation completed. We'll see what the vote on the Senate floor is here just momentarily, but to my colleagues, I'm very grateful. The Senate Committee on Veterans Affairs passed the earlier piece of legislation out of the committee on a unanimous vote, every Republican, every Democrat voting for it, with the plan that Senator Tester and I and our colleagues would work together till we got a bill that was satisfactory to be considered on the Senate floor for the well-being of those who are suffering and may suffer due to toxic exposure and their families. But mostly I would say thank you to the men and women who served in uniform, who encountered these dangers on behalf of Americans. We're grateful for their service, and I hope today's legislation, once signed into law, becomes more than just a statement that says we care about what you do and we care for you and we're grateful to you. It's one thing to say we respect you, we appreciate your service, we thank you for your service. It's another thing to make sure that that service is cared for in ways that are so important to those who serve and their family members. So delighted to be here. To the veteran service organizations and to the two Johns, just grateful for their continued efforts to make sure that this legislation didn't slip through the cracks or fall by the wayside. And finally, I would say that I hope there's greater opportunities that can follow using this legislation, this legislative process as an example. Not the timeliness, but the bipartisanship to allow the Senate to function in a way that legislation is not a rare thing, but something that's common in which Republicans and Democrats work to find common good. Thank you.
Well said.
Jerry Brown.
Thanks, John. Special thanks to Senators Tester and Moran, of course, and all my colleagues here. This is really simple. If you served your country and you're exposed to toxins, you earn those benefits. You get those benefits every single time, period, no exception. Martin and I were talking a moment ago, the Department of Defense and our country didn't learn our lessons from the exposure to radiation. We didn't learn the lesson from the exposure to Agent Orange. Finally, we're going to make sure as we do this today, and it's a good day for justice, as Senator Gillibrand said, that this never happens again, that we recognize the sacrifice that people have made, and we meet those commitments. The most comprehensive expansion of benefits for veterans who face toxic exposure in our country's history, the right thing to do. Finally, as Senator Moran said, this work honors veteran service organizations for their activism and what they did. It honors the person after whom this bill's named, Sergeant First Class Heath Robinson from Columbus, Ohio. We named the bill after him. His widow, Danielle, has been actively working on this. His mother-in-law, Susan Zier, I've been working with for 3 or 4 years on this. She was in the gallery with Tim Hauser, a veteran also from Ohio. A good day for our country, a day that we should have done a long time ago and finally happened because of the leadership of the people behind me. Thank you.
Thanks, Sherrod.
Well said, Sherrod.
Martin Heinrich.
Thank you, John, and thank you to all the VSOs who made this happen. You know, politicians are good at talking the talk. This bill's about walking the walk. I want to thank every veteran in New Mexico who's come to me with this issue. People like Master Sergeant Jesse Baca and his wife Maria, who have fought so hard for years to make this day come. Honestly, it's made me understand my own father better. He was exposed to 2 nuclear detonations in the South Pacific back in the 50s. Those caught up with him late in life, and that is it's a good lesson for all of us, because we send these folks to war and they bring home wounds that you can't always see at the time. And these burn pits have put so many of our former service members in a position where sometimes they have to fight for a breath. They shouldn't have to fight for coverage at the VA. And this is a big step forward. So thank you to everyone here who made it happen. Thank you to Senator Bozeman, my colleague on the VA and MILCON Appropriations Subcommittee. One of the things we're proud of is that we're not robbing Peter to pay Paul on this legislation. We're not going to defund other veterans' care to make this happen. We're going to make this happen on its own.
Well done.
John Bozeman.
Thank you. And I would echo what Senator Heinrich said. This has been a great bipartisan effort. I've been on the Veterans Affairs Committee now for many, many years. I had the opportunity to serve for 9 years in the House on Veterans Affairs, now in the Senate for another 11 years. And I would say this is one of the most consequential bills that we've passed in the last 20 years that I've been associated with. And so we can be very proud of that. It didn't just happen. It took a lot of hard work, and as always, as has been mentioned on countless occasions, as you all have talked about, at the forefront has been the veteran service organizations. This stuff doesn't get done without the grassroots. So again, thanks to them for their efforts. Thanks to all of us just working hard to get it done. We were able to do this in such a way that we're providing the benefits that veterans have earned. You always have to remember, these aren't give-me's. These are earned benefits that we promised veterans, promised people that would take up the uniform, that as they transitioned out of the service, not only would we take care of them when they were serving, but after their service. So we were able to do this where we're providing the benefit, but it is such a major expansion. We're doing it, and it took a lot of hard work, a lot of crafting to do it in such a way that we're not going to affect the benefits of those that are in line now, which again is so very important. The bottom line, this is going to save lives, protect veterans' health, give their families the peace of mind that they so richly deserve. So I want to thank Senator Tester, Senator Moran for the great work they've done, and very importantly, as I said, the veteran service organizations, the grassroots, and then also the staffs of the Veterans Affairs Committee that worked so very hard to make this actually, with the wisdom of Solomon, pulling all of this together. So thank you all.
Thank you. And one of those veteran service organizations is Iraq Afghanistan Vets, and we have Jen Birch here from IAVA.
Hi, I'm Jen Birch from IAVA. I'm also an Afghanistan veteran with a toxic exposure illness, restrictive lung disease. I want to thank Senator Tester and Senator Moran and all of the senators that have voted yes today and made this a reality for so many veterans out there like myself. Toxic exposure is affecting countless veterans and it has for decades. Some don't even know it yet. This comprehensive legislation will provide health care and benefits to veterans with toxic exposure related illnesses and their families. It will also remove the burden of proof from the veterans and ensure the 80% of veterans who are currently denied their benefits for toxic exposure related illnesses will now have the benefits that they have earned. Lives will be saved, children will have their parents around to watch them grow up because of the types of tests and screenings this act normalizes. If you are a veteran right now watching this, take a deep breath. Help is on the way. You no longer have to fight for your benefits. They'll be there waiting for you. Whether you get sick or whether you die, and your families will now be taken care of. Help is on the way. And thank you again to everyone standing up here, to all of the VSOs that have helped make this a reality. Today is a monumental day that we'll never forget. Thank you.
Outstanding. So there was a bunch of VSO reps that were in the gallery before this vote started and while this vote was going on. They are heading down here, right, Peel? Yeah. And so they'll be here shortly. But I just want to talk about, because many people have asked me, so how did this bill get to this point where you end up with, you're not worried about 60, but now you got 70. I think the first vote was 84 votes in favor of cloture. And I will tell you how it happened. It happened because, number one, there's a bipartisan effort on both sides of the aisle. And number two, the veteran service agencies, and I might have these even in the wrong order, the veteran service agencies, toxic exposure was their number one issue. They came in at the beginning of this Congress and they talked about toxic exposure, and every one of them basically said the same thing. And when you talk with one voice, it makes a big difference, especially when you represent the men and women who protect our freedoms throughout the world. And so that's really how it happened. And then we've got the two Johns, Stewart and Peel, that came in and put it. Sorry, yeah. Peel. Yeah. John, how's that? And put. How do I want to say this? Put the gloves to us? Is that what you want to say, John? No. Talked about how this needs to happen, and so it was an incredible effort, an incredible amount of time. And I want you guys, don't leave. I want you to hear from the VSOs, because they're really, really important to hear about what this is going to do for the people that they represent. And they'll be here shortly. Now. I can take questions if you want, or
if you have any.
Yeah.
Senator Tester, how long will it be, providing it passes the House, goes to President Biden's desk, how long would it be for a veteran watching right now? I know there's a phased-in approach.
There is a phased-in approach.
But for somebody watching right now, when can they expect to see the changes?
Well, I think you're going to see changes right after the president signs it, and you're going to see the things to get the ball rolling, to increase capacity, and the presumptions will be automatically covered once this bill's passed. The presumptions in this bill. Yeah, and yeah, exactly right. They've been working on this for a while.
I mean, the presumptions were added before we even got this bill passed. So we're seeing the changes implemented now, and as soon as the president signs it, you'll see more. And even with the staggered, 325, you're going to see those who have an illness that are supposed to wait. They can't be denied. They can't be turned away.
That's correct.
And that was for me personally, that was the biggest sticking point of this whole process.
Yeah. Go ahead, John.
Do you want to say some words, John?
No.
Keep it clean. Keep it clean.
I can't give a speech without my partner here, so I'll save that. But I'll answer your questions. I'm ecstatic, and while I might not show it, I'm happy for the VSOs and the 3.5 million veterans that are possibly exposed to the burn pits. So this is a good day for us, but we have a lot more work to do. This is grassroots activism to get to this point. The advocacy starts right after the president signs this. The VSOs have a daunting task of making sure that this bill goes from its infant stages and matures over the next several years. And that's when they're all going to have to earn their pay. So I'm happy for them. And I didn't want to really say anything until they all got here, so I'm stuck here with Senator Gillibrand and mildly uncomfortable.
Learning to filibuster.
Learning to, I'm going to yield to the senator from New Mexico.
Any other questions?
Go ahead.
Any of you can answer, but specifically Senator Gillibrand, I want to get your perspective on this. Obviously, it was a very long fight for you guys in order to get the support that you have today. Talk to me about what it was like for you and for the other senators as you realized slowly but surely you were getting the support, you were starting to get the numbers, and talk to me about what it was like when you realized you hit that minimum in your capacity.
Well, for me and Marco Rubio, we introduced this bill in the last Congress, and we started building momentum amongst our colleagues. But what really was the turning point was when Senator Tester and Senator Moran took it over as part of the Veterans Committee. Because when you have a committee and you're able to mark up legislation and look at all the problems, because my bill was focused specifically on burn pits, they were able to right wrongs that were still left with Agent Orange, with Blue Water Navy vets, with veterans who were exposed in the 90s, veterans who were exposed to nuclear testing. And so they were able to take all of the challenges that affect our veterans community and put them together. So I think every piece builds on itself. And, you know, if you talk to Rosie Torres, she started this 13 years ago. She was looking for people to follow her. All the advocates, all of the veterans who came to help Burn Pits 360 matters too. There were veterans from the 90s who had no one and nowhere to turn. And so when Rosie was able to start her efforts, they could join on. And that's why this has been an effort of hundreds of people coming to fruition and hearing from their constituents. You heard from both Senator Brown and Senator Heinrich. They have constituents who came to them to tell them their stories. That's what matters. And so the VSOs and the veterans themselves, the active duty service members who took the time to knock on every door. And then last but not least was Senator Schumer. We've been asking for a vote on this for a long time. This is something that Senator Schumer's heart was open to. He wanted to make sure there was room for this vote, and he made the vote happen. So all of those pieces need to happen to get us here today. So there's a lot of people to be grateful for, and I'm most grateful for the men and women who served and who've sacrificed so much.
You're welcome.
And,
There's a lot of similarities between these illnesses and the 9/11
Yes.
illnesses, and also in the process that this has gone through. You mentioned 13 years.
Yep, for Rosie.
Torres, it was, 15 years for 9/11. Where do all these similarities come from?
So what Rosie told me is she fought very hard on her own with Burn Pits 360, but she saw what happened with the 9/11 health bill. She started to read about the type of diseases that the service members were, that the 9/11 first responders were getting, and they're the same: the throat cancers, the lung cancers,
go. We're trying to do a press
the
conference.
stomach cancers, and
Senator.
the same type of just degenerative
Hurry
diseases.
up.
And she decided that she needed someone like John Thiel and John Stewart to help her cause. And so she approached us, she approached them, and said, we need you to turn this hot spotlight that you had for the 9/11 first responders on to the veterans community and this cause, because it's so similar. It's the same type of things: building materials, human waste, medical waste, all lit on fire by jet fuel. That's exactly the toxins that existed at 9/11. And so they asked for John and John to participate, and so the two communities joined, and they have been joined ever since. And that culmination of extraordinary advocacy and a relentlessness that Washington doesn't often see, this group got it done.
next I want to have Susan Zaire come up. She is the constituent of Sheriff Brown, and she's also the mother-in-law of Keith Robinson. And then after Susan gets done, I just want each VSO that wants to talk to step up the mic and do it. Okay? Thanks, Susan.
Thank you. Oh boy, where to begin? I think I'll tell you a little bit about Heath. It seems like I'm always talking about how sick he was, but I'd like to tell you a little story about maybe about 10 years ago. We had a family reunion at my house with about 75 people. And so at the end of the day, everyone was tired, and we decided we weren't going to clean up all the chairs and put away the canopies and tables, and we'd do it the next morning. I woke up the next morning, went outside to start cleaning up, and it was done. Heath had gotten up because he's a soldier and he worked so hard. He got up early that morning and he cleaned up the entire backyard by himself. He took down canopies, he folded all the chairs and put them away. And I just wanted to let you know that that's the kind of person he was. He was always helpful, he was always generous, he was a wonderful father to his little girl, my granddaughter Brielle. In 2017, when Heath was first diagnosed with lung cancer, he was also diagnosed with a rare autoimmune disease. And he fought valiantly for 3 years to survive as long as he could for his daughter. And about 2018, I think Rosie Torres, who you so graciously talked about, Rosie Torres suggested that I start wearing Heath's Army jacket. And she said that until the 9/11 responders, loved ones, started wearing the fire jackets and the police jackets, that they didn't get so much momentum until they started wearing them. So I've been wearing this since about summer of 2018. And today, with this bill passing the Senate, I think it's time to retire it. I no longer have to carry Heath on my shoulders while I'm advocating for all the other veterans out there who are sick and dying. And we aren't concerned that this bill is going to pass the House because we know it will, so I'm considering it done today. And I want to thank everybody for being here and for everyone's hard work and support over all the years. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alex Morosky, and I'm with Wounded Warrior Project. Today's a good day. It's a good day for veterans suffering from toxic wounds. We make a promise to service members that if they get wounded in the line of duty, that there will be health care and benefits and an acknowledgement of their sacrifice from a grateful nation. Up until now, that promise has been broken for veterans with toxic wounds. But today, we are one giant step closer to finally keeping the promise to them. The Sergeant First Class, Heath Robinson, Honoring Our PACT Act, keeps this promise. And it took a lot of years of hard work and advocacy by many of the people that are standing here today. And this bill represents the results of those efforts, real results. And so, Chairman Tester, Ranking Member Moran, Senator Gillibrand, Senator Bozeman, Senator Heinrich, thank you for your efforts and thank you for these results. And to all the, I believe the final total was 85 senators who voted yes today, thank you as well. You did the right thing today, and we know veterans across this country will remember that. Thank you.
I don't know how I forgot to mention this. Today is Sergeant First Class Heath Robinson's daughter's 9th birthday. This fine Capitol Police officer standing over there. Hey, wave! He had a flag flown over the Capitol this morning in her honor. So she would never forgive me if I didn't mention that.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming. My name is Tim Hauser. I was a staff sergeant in the Air Force from 1982 to 1992, and I served in the Gulf War. This has been an extremely long fight for me. I've actually been fighting for almost half my life for this bill. This started from the day I came back from Desert Storm. And I want to thank Senator Tester, Senator Moran, Congressman Tanako, Senator Gillibrand, John Stewart, John Field. Thank you for coming, buddy, and my son today. My son and my wife. I want to thank them for their support through all this, because my voice wasn't being heard until about 2 years ago. I got a message on Facebook by a man named Kevin Hensley. And all his message says is, hey, give me a call. It'll change your life. Come to find out, he was a member of Burn Pits 360. So not only do I want to thank Burn Pits 360 and Leroy Torres and his wife Rosie for giving me a platform and a voice to speak on behalf of Desert Storm veterans. This is a big day for us, and it's been extremely long, 25 years. Now, like Susan said, this bill will pass the Congress. We already know it will. It has way too much support, and I believe that's because of the work that Senator Tester and Senator Moran put into this, that the Congress knows this bill is what we need. Thank you.
Bet you see some Congressman Takano on that.
Look, I just came to make sure that it all happened, and I want to thank Senator Gillibrand. I want to thank Senator Chairman Tester and Ranking Member Moran, Senator Heinrich, to unite behind this bill, to get the United States Senate to unite behind the bill. All the VSOs, what tremendous work you all did. You know that we are a divided country. I want to thank the American people and all of our veterans for showing that we can rise above the politics here in Washington to get something very, very big done. I am very confident we're going to pass this in the House next week and get it to President Biden's desk. John Thiel and John Stewart, thank you also for your fierce advocacy. This is a very, very moving moment for me, and I look forward to getting it done next week, so thank you.
Well said.
Hi, Joy Elam, Disabled American Veterans National Legislative Director. Just on behalf of DAV, just thank you so much to Chairman Tester, Ranking Member Moran, Senator Gillibrand, everybody here, all the advocates that have worked so hard, so tirelessly to make this happen. And this is about keeping our promises to those who served, and today is a really good day. So thank you for all those, and Chairman Takano as well, everybody's work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Christina Keenan. I'm a proud Army veteran with the Veterans of Foreign Wars. You know, the VFW has been advocating for veterans legislation for the last 100 years. But today, the Honoring Our PACT Act, which passed the Senate, is the most comprehensive, historic, multi-generational toxic exposure legislation in American history. We want this to pass the House swiftly and get to the President's desk as soon as possible. I want to thank Senators Tester and Moran, Senators Gillibrand, Heinrich, Rubio, everyone who was involved, Chairman Takano, everyone, all the VSOs, John Field, John Tester, John Stewart. Without your help, this would not have gotten the attention that it did. I'm so proud to be standing here with you all. You know, at the VFW, our executive director, Bob Wallace, who a lot of you know, says to me almost every time I see him, every day is Veterans Day, and we will never stop fighting for veterans. This is a great day for the veteran community. I'm so grateful. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Hi everybody, I'm Tom Porter, IAVA guy, Navy guy. Thank you so much for being here. I just want to say that this is something that is highly unusual for a lot of you folks that are watching this. Is we work together a lot, the VSOs and coalitions, but you almost never see all of us pushing hard for the same massive piece of legislation. So it's really, truly an exceptional thing. A lot of us were working on this issue for years, but really this whole effort kind of started mobilizing in earnest. Several years ago, we started forming a coalition, Toxic Exposure in the American Military Coalition. We got more than 30 VSOs together. We started meeting in offices downtown. We started piling into Senator Gillibrand's conference room. The Johns came in and joined us. Others came in and joined us. We heard from experts. We heard from survivors. We heard from people that were sick. And we started putting together this legislation. We've got survivors like Susan that's here, and her granddaughter Brielle that walked the halls of Congress with us just last week. I got Leroy that is suffering the impact of his exposure now, and then we have people like Kate and Wes that aren't here anymore that were advocates for this issue. So we've been a long way. We've seen some people drop off along the way, but we're here to carry the fight through to the end, and we're almost there. So thank you. We're going to get this done.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's truly an honor to be here this afternoon, and you know, it's just thinking of milestones that I have been through. I remember walking the hallways back in 2010 after I was dismissed from the War-Related Illness Injury Center without answers. And this is the first trip I make up here with DC without my wife, and she's my hero, and one who kept a promise. She made a promise to me in 2010 as they wheeled me into the operating room. She says, no matter the outcome, I said, I'm going to fight for you because you're not going to be the last ones going to go through this. And here we are, 13 years later. So I'm beyond grateful. And today, it's just not about me, but it's about honoring those that have perished due to the effects of toxic exposure and those who have borne the battle from decades of war, from the war that followed us home. This is a monumental effort that members of Congress have ever delivered in support of veterans suffering from toxic exposure. The PACT Act will provide relief to several generations of toxic exposed service members and families that lost their loved ones due to toxic exposure. And with that, I am grateful for Senators Tester, Moran, and Gillibrand, Senator Rubio, and Representatives Tucano, Reese, Castro. And I'm just grateful for this man right here, John Stewart, who kept a promise, who FaceTimed me in 2019. In a very dark moment in my life, he FaceTimed me, and he kept his promise along with John Field and Joe McKay, fellow first responders. They know the fight that I've endured, and another fight waits on my job loss case. But it's things that we should not have to worry about when we come back home from serving our nation, that we should not be dismissed due to war-related illnesses, but that we should be accommodated. But I'm beyond grateful for each and every one of you, for all the VSOs who have stood behind the fight. Because it is one team, one fight. Thank you, and God bless you.
God bless you.
Come. One for you, one for me.
Oh, that's nice.
You know, 3.5 years ago when Rosie came to me and I went to John and said, let's do this, I said we'd get this done. And during the ups and downs over the last 3.5 years, I never wavered. I always said we'd get this done. So while everybody's acting shocked today that we got this done, I'm not. Checking the box, we got it done. Checking the box, we thank the senators, blah, blah, blah. It's their job. No offense. I love you guys. I love you for doing your job. The staffs, I thanked them last week at the other press conference. They're the ones who deserve credit. We always knew we were going to get this done because we forced.
We never knew we were going to get this done. I just want to be very clear.
I'm talking.
All right.
So we forced the process because there was a lot of people that didn't want this done. Just like the 9/11 bill, there was a lot of people that didn't want it done. When you force the process, when your will is stronger than their politics, you get things done. We have created a blueprint over the last 15 years on how to get legislation passed. Anybody in America who has an issue that's dear to their heart can follow this blueprint. It's called put your foot on their neck and don't let up. Because then it becomes bigger than everybody. And it grows every day. And it was a snowball that nobody could stop. Now I wanted to take this time to talk about this guy.
No.
Shut up.
We're good.
Shut your mouth. So last week when I was here, and since there are two standing senators here, I'm telling you right now, I will be your worst pain in the ass. If that man shuts your mouth, I will punch you in the face. I don't know who to call, who to talk to, Senator Gillibrand. But Jon Stewart deserves the Presidential Medal of Freedom. I've been fortunate enough to meet a lot of celebrities over the years who are just that, celebrities, who do nothing but run their mouth. and don't back it up. This man has backed it up. I've bled with this man, and he deserves the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
So do you.
Ew. Ew, watch your mouth. You know, I kept telling John over the last month, this is my last bill. I've done 6 here now in D.C., 6 in Albany, 2 in New Jersey, and 1 in Michigan. And I wanted to take time for myself. But I lied because there are other things I want to do. And I'm going to come back sooner than later, and I'm going to piss off the Senate and Congress again. And I know, I got the key to the door. So while I'm ecstatic for you guys, I'm so happy for the VSOs. But inside I'm smiling for the 3.5 million veterans who are going to get help. Yeah. And while I'm sad for the families who lost their loved ones before this legislation took into effect, you guys have a lot of work ahead of you. This was grassroots activism to get here. The advocacy starts when the president signs the bill. So on behalf of the Feel Good Foundation, myself, the 9/11 community, who was honored to work with you guys, it's been a humbling experience, and the friendships that I made with Leroy and everybody, I love you guys. And John, where are you? Don't make me curse. Ladies and gentlemen, John Stewart.
I just want to thank everybody once again. I am filled with gratitude. Like this group right here, you know, it was so nice. We've Zoomed so much that to see them full length. Unfortunately, I had for many years lied to them that I was 6'4". So when we did have the first meetings, there were some explanations to be had. But, you know, this is one of those days where you feel like all the hard work and the blood, sweat, and tears that they all put in over all those years have finally paid off. And now I think John's exactly right. The real work of administrating this bill begins. This doesn't solve anybody's problem. This just removes the burden from their fight that never should have been there in the first place. And I'm incredibly just excited to see what's next for these groups. I'll be visiting you at all your local, you have no idea the places I've been, the local chapters I've visited, the handshakes we've shared in Kansas City and Indianapolis and Jacksonville. It's been an incredible experience, and to you, your tenacity personified, and the way you carried the banner for your family and your loved ones, and in their pain. That's the thing, you know. Advocating for a cause is it's a lovely thing to do, but to do that in your grief, when you know that it's not going to help your loved one, but that's not what matters to you, is that no one goes through what you went through. And that's just the epitome of grace. And so I love you.
I love you too.
And it's been an honor. Yes.
Any questions from the press, or are we all set? Great. Thank you so much for coming.
Good?
All good.
Talk about, baby. Yeah, baby. Right? No. You're going. Young man. Absolutely. Let's do it. Yeah, let's go. Let's do it. These are good. Yeah.